hopefully maybe another year, and we'll be finished we'll complete this. This third cluster from Al-Mulk to Al-Mursalat, it talks about representation of Islam. That's kind of the idea behind it. And the juz is quite simplistic, in a simple way, divided. It's not complicated. The first 4 surahs talk about the requirements, 4 basic requirements that you need in order for you to represent Islam and be Muslim and perform da'wah. You have to have a certain amount of ilm, a certain amount of ethics, a certain amount of spirituality or closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a certain code of conduct. And that's what Al-Mulk, Al-Qalam, Al-Haqqa, and Al-Ma'arij. These second 2 surahs, or the second group within this cluster, from Nuh and Jinn, they give examples of representation of da'wah. 2 very distinct and very different examples that are not similar at all. In every way they're different. And when I go through the surah, I'll point out the differences, inshallah, so it'll make sense. So with Nuh, we went through last week, or we completed last week, the example of the prophet, or one of the prophets, which is Nuh alayhi salam, doing everything right. Doing absolutely everything by the book, the way he was supposed to. Going out and beyond what he was even required to do in terms of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had commanded him as a messenger to spread the message. And the outcome was not what he wanted, alayhi salam. The number of people who accepted his da'wah within his life was quite low. He didn't have a large ummah at the end of it. Even his own family members did not necessarily embrace his message, his wife and his son. And the second surah, Surah Al-Jinn, as we're going to start today, is very different. It's almost the opposite. It's where there was almost no effort of da'wah occurring, and yet the outcome was achieved. And that's what these 2 contrast. And the reason that we have these 2 surahs side by side is just a reminder that your job, your mission is just to perform the task to the best of your ability, correctly and appropriately, to spread the message the way you're supposed to. The outcomes of that will be in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It may work the way you want it to work, and it may not, and that was never your responsibility to begin with. And that's what these 2 surahs explain in different ways. And I'll kind of spend some time doing some comparison at the end of Surah Al-Jinn, inshallah ta'ala. But Surah Al-Jinn is a very, very specific and special surah in the Quran. It's obviously, the name is very intriguing, Al-Jinn. These are creatures that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created way before Ibn Adam, way before human beings. They exist in a realm that maybe is not fully accessible for us. Our limit of their nature our knowledge of their nature is quite limited. Our understanding of how they function is also very limited. We know that they are created from fire, that is a smokeless fire, as the Quran describes it, that they existed way before us, that similarly to the human being, they have choice, as in their margin of choice has that piece to it that is very specific, where they can also disobey. They can say no, they can sin, they can cause evil. All the other creatures that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created are limited by the nature, by nature, or by restrictions that He put upon them, like the malaika, for example. But the human being and jinn, which is why they're called the thaqalan, and we talked about that when we recited Surah Al-Rahman, the two weights, the 2 burden carriers, right? And both of them have that ability to make choices. That's what we know about jinn. We know that there is a specificity regarding the relationship that we have with them based on an original story that the Quran and the Bible and the Torah and actually books way before them pointed out and talked about, which is the story of Adam alayhi salam and Iblis in the garden. And what it's based on, or what it kind of rotates around, because it's important, I know that you know this background, but this context is important for this surah to make sense and for you to understand why it's being taught the way it is being taught. That the context to it is understanding or remembering that an animosity was developed at one point. The jinn existed before the human being. The jinn, they caused much corruption and they shed a lot of their own blood. And amongst them was one of them that was very pious. Pious to the degree that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevated him and elevated his status, and with time he was added to the ranks of the angels in heaven. And he was with them. He was someone who had access to places and things that others did not. And it's important to understand the story of Iblis that way. Like I feel sometimes that we should tell his story because he's an important figure, obviously, in every religion, and in ours specifically. Iblis is a sad story on one side, and it's a story of great danger on another one for us. Because Iblis is someone who was granted a lot of status by God. He was someone who showed a lot of piety, who was someone who did a lot of good way before in his life. That landed him a status that he did not ever dream of having, of being amongst the ranks of the malaika. He was removed from his own, and he was put in a place where he was no longer bounded by their limitation, their restrictions. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed him to exist like that for a very long time. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the malaika that he was going to create, there's a creation coming along the way, Adam, he's going to create someone on this planet, that he's going to put on this planet a creation from it, whom he's going to support personally, and he's going to, through his divine wisdom, teach and take care of. The malaika were scared, so they told that. They made those objections that you guys all know about, where they ask, تَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءَ وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ. Why would you put another group of creatures that will corrupt themselves and shed their blood like the jinn did, and maybe other creations before us? We don't know the limitations of how much Allah created. I have no idea how many groups are going to be held accountable Yawm al-Qiyamah. I know that the human beings and the jinn are. There may be millions or billions of other races or creations of different, I don't know. We have no, how would I know? How would you know? Nobody knows. To actually imagine that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creativity of khalq is limited just to, what we see here is in my opinion, maybe unwise. To understand the unlimitedness of the divine subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to imagine that, he only created the human beings and the jinn, and that's, why do we know about the human beings and the jinn? Because that's a part of our story. I need to know about the human being because I am one. And I need to know about any other creatures that are going to affect me in my life. So the jinn, we know about them. Are there maybe other creatures? I am almost certain there must be. Then you'll run into them Yawm al-Qiyamah, or I don't know. Allahu A'lam. I'm just saying that, remember that there's no reason for you to mentally limit anything. You don't know. We just know that this is a part of the story that we're told. We're not told everything. One of the beautiful things of Yawm al-Qiyamah is that you get to learn, you get to ask, you get to see what exactly has been, how many realms there are, and how many creations Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made. And it's just an endless story that will take lifetimes to absorb. We're just being told the piece that matters to us. The piece that matters to us is one of the pious, one of the high ranks jinn didn't like the origin of us. He didn't like it. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam, He told him, "Usjudu li Adam." Show Adam respect, show him. So prostration here is not like literal prostration. It's figurative prostration. It's a prostration of showing respect and integrity, like offering high status. Saying that, acknowledging and accepting that this creature here has higher status than you. By the choice of God, not by the choice of, but by the choice of God. Iblis didn't understand why. By the way, when I tell you the story of Iblis, you'll start wondering, like, what would you have done in his place, by the way? Like, when I actually tell you the story of, like, but this is the whole point of understanding Islam, is that learning about what this deen, is that Iblis was at fault for making the choice that he made. You may feel empathetic at some point, feeling, well, I would probably have felt the same way. Well, that's exactly the point. The point is that you learn so that you don't. So that if you're put in a position similar to the one that Iblis was put in, you don't make that same mistake. We don't let your ego interfere in something that has divine wisdom behind it. So Allah told them to prostrate. And Iblis was amongst the malaika, but he ignored it because he was not one of the malaika. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked to him and said, "مَا مَنَعَكَ أَن تَسْجُدَ إِذْ أَمَرْتُكَ?" Why are you not prostrating? And I commanded you specifically. Like, you know that I commanded you. You know that I meant you to. So why you didn't do it? So Iblis alayhi la'na, he couldn't hold it. So he told Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, "أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِّنْهُ." I'm better than whatever this is that you've created. وَخَلَقْتَنِي مِن نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِن طِينٍ. And if nothing else, he didn't talk about merit. Because merit, there's no reason for make this argument. He has done nothing. So there's no point. Iblis in his mind is like, there's one of two reasons that he's better than me. Either merit, and there's no merit. He hasn't taken his first breath yet. Like he hasn't done anything yet to deserve status. I have, on the other hand, done much, done a lot. So the only other reason that he could have more status is by nature, like the origin. Essence. And he's just by essence better. Just like gold is better than dirt. Yeah, so for him it's like, I am from fire. He's from, what is this? It's mud. It stinks. It stinks. That's what the Quran says. Min salsalin min hama'in masnoon. Hama' masnoon is heated mud that is rotten on the inside. There's the smell of rot on the inside. And there's a reason for all of this, by the way. And this is not where I'm going to talk about this topic in depth. But I'm just giving I just want to understand the idea. So Iblis, this is what he's saying. Like if it's merit, we don't have to talk about merit. If it's essence, well, not even by essence is he better than me. So why do I have to do this? So Allah told him, Astakbart, am kunta min al-'alin. Have you become arrogant? Or do you somehow believe, are you somehow better than him by nature? Like this, did I tell you that? Are you, based on what are you doing this? Either you are now filled with arrogance, or you are just by nature better. Which one is it? So Iblis didn't have an answer, because he couldn't say either. He can't say either. So what he said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is anzirni ila yawmi yub'athun. Give me time to the day of judgment. Everyone knows about the day of judgment. And I'll prove to you that he is not worthy of the respect that you have shown him. He is not worthy of the outranking of myself that you have shown him. لَأُزَيِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ إِلَّا عِبَادَكَ مِنْهُمُ الْمُخْلَصِينَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him that ultimatum, that timeline. Fine, go ahead. Iblis decided that he was going to be the enemy of Adam and those who come from Adam. Everyone that Iblis was capable or is capable of convincing within his group will join him and will perform waswasa. This is obvious, and this is the limitation of the relationship that we have with them, is that Iblis was granted access to us based on this whole thing that happened. I will prove to you, لَأَحْتَنِكَنَّ ذُرِّيَّتَهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. I will put the reins on their mouths and make them walk in whatever direction I command them to walk. And of course, in other verses, like different phrases he would use. So in order for him to do that, he needed some degree of access. He was granted this access. The access was الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. Obviously, I can whisper to you and I can give you bad ideas, but Iblis comes from a different realm, so there had to be an access. There had to be some way to access. So Iblis was granted, he and those who were with him, granted this access to us, where they can perform this waswasa. Iblis, in his mind, all that he needs is that. He just needs the ability to continue. We're weak. We are easily deceived. We are easily swayed. All he has to do is just keep on looking for weaknesses within our spirituality, and he will take it. And he won't be hard for him. He'll find ways. Because he knows. Iblis has been around way longer than we have. He understands what it means to be pious and not. He understands that he made a mistake. He knows what he's done. Iblis is not ignorant. He's not ignorant. He's an interesting human creature. A very interesting creature. Alayhi la'natullah. He is damned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he is our enemy. And we have much, inna shaytana lakum aduwwun fattakhidhuhu aduwwa. Indeed, he is an enemy of you, so take him as an enemy of yourself, because that's how he sees you. So you can't befriend him, because he has no interest in doing that. His goal is to wreck you, to ruin you, to take you to your demise. So being in that position that he is in doing that, then we have to be aware, because he knows how we can be swayed, what works and what doesn't, where our weaknesses are. He understands. And he tried a lot of things with Adam alayhi salam and with those who came after. So he's been trying this for a long time, and he has a lot of those who jund. يا بني آدم لا يفتننكم الشيطان كما أخرج أبويكم من الجنة ينزع عنهما لباسهما ليريهما سوآتهما إنه يراكم هو وقبيله من حيث لا ترونهم إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا الشَّيَاطِينَ أَوْلِيَاءَ لِلَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. O sons of Adam, O children of Adam, do not let the shaitan woo you, as he did your parents, removing them from the garden, showing them all of their flaws, taking their clothing off. This is figurative, not literal. Showing them, exposing their weaknesses, exposing their nakedness to themselves, seeing how weak and how many flaws they have. لِيُرِيَهُمَا سَوْآتِهِمَا, showing them all these flaws. إِنَّهُ يَرَاكُمْ, indeed he sees you, he and his group, those who are with him. مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا تَرَوْنَهُم, from an angle from which you do not see them back. You can't see them. You're going to be surprised by the end of the surah how clearly Allah states the nature of the relationship we had with jinn. And then you're going to ask yourself, what the heck have we been doing for the last couple of hundred years? Like by the time we're done reading this, you're going to be wondering what it is that we've been doing here. Like how do we still believe, why are we so superstitious, and where does this come from? Like the surah clearly states exactly what they can and cannot do. And I don't know, is it just too fun? I guess it's just too fun. I guess there's money in it. It's so hard to stop an industry. It's one thing to stop a belief. It's another thing I've learned. It's one thing to change a belief. It's a different thing to change an industry. When there's money in it, when there's money to be made, it's a different fight. It's a different uphill struggle. Right? When there's a system attached to it, a system that works. I only imagine that's what the Prophet ﷺ must have felt in his life. Because he came with a really simple, pure, clear argument against just a mush of incoherent statements that were being made by those people. And he just came with the purest of all, just La ilaha illallah. But then, you would think it's going to be an easy transition. All of this garbage is going to fall in front of the clarity and the strength of this one argument that he had. But the problem was he wasn't up against an argument, a coherent, logical, rational, critical thinking driven argument. He was up against an industry. He was up against a system, a way of life that was extremely well put together, connected, rooted in the lives and the politics and the social structure of these people. So he had to yank out from the roots a system that had been there for centuries, and that almost broke his back. Right? Because he's yanking out this old system. And that's a change of everything. Everything changed. That's why it was called Jahiliyyah. It's a different time, a different era, different way of life, because they yanked out a whole system. We have successfully brought back most of that system, which is... But we're up against this system. It's not, that's why I find it's very surprising to me when I explain to people like about jinn and their effect. To me, it's like really simple. Like it's not really an argument that I need to spend too much time making. It's like, it's a very weak challenger. The person who wants to argue against me, they're on the ropes, and I'm just having my way. I'm just punching them. They have nothing to come back with. But then nothing changes, and I can punch at this weak challenger all day long. Cream them, and still people come and say, "I think my mom has a jinn. I think there's a jinn in her house." I'm like, "Ya akhi, what have you? No, that's not the problem. That's not what's going on. But khalas, it's a system. It works. It's a hanger. It's something to blame. It takes off some accountability. There's pseudo comfort in having a sheikh come and do something and tell you that it worked. It feels better that way. Like you feel like you did something when you didn't do anything. And it takes away the actual responsibility of seeing if there's a problem or accepting that maybe we actually have a problem. Maybe we didn't raise these people correctly. Maybe they're just ill and that's fine and they're sick. And no, this is better. It's a system, and there's money in it. And people make money off this all the time. There's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of money being made as we speak. It's a multi-million-dollar industry, the industry of exorcisms. It's not just for the Christians and the Jews that do it. No, we have joined. We're on the wagon with them. We're in the bus, and we're doing the same thing. And it's absolutely ludicrous. It's just it's very weird. So that's the surah being called Jinn is very specific. It was revealed in Mecca during the Meccan period, as all of this juz is, from Mulk to Mursalat, all of them are revealed in Mecca. Most likely it was revealed in the 10th year of his prophecy, alayhi salatu wasalam. So it's not an early Meccan surah, but it's rather a later Meccan surah. Some say that it was revealed a bit earlier, and it happened, the incidents that I'm going to go through tonight, when we recite the verses, or start reciting the verses, happened when he was at a market in Uqalv. But the more likely origin of this story was, what we're going to read, happened after the Prophet ﷺ's journey back from Ta'if. So when he came back ﷺ from Ta'if, you know the story, the 10th year of his prophecy ﷺ, he went to Ta'if to try and get their support, and he was absolutely humiliated by them. And he was denied entrance back to Mecca because of that. And during the nights when Aisha asked him about the most difficult days of his life, alayhi salatu wasalam, and she said, after Uhud, as if she's saying, Uhud obviously was the worst for you. And he said, no, it wasn't Uhud. It was, وَأَنَا بِقَرْنِ الثَّعَالِبِ أَهِيمُ عَلَى وَجْهِ, as he describes it in the collection of Imam Ahmad. When I was in the valley of Qarn al-Tha'alib, the horn of the foxes, is the name of the valley. It's just north of Mecca. And he said, Ahimu ala wajhi. I was walking aimlessly. I had no idea where I was going or what was I was doing. And it was during those nights that this story that's being told in Surat Al-Jinn actually occurred. So we're going to read them together. And there's a lot. This is a very, very heavy, full surah, especially just in the context of what we go through today as Muslims here in the 21st century, with the amount of superstition that exists amongst our ranks and that is seen as maxims. This is one of probably the number one things that I get dissed for. The times I've heard from people that anta jahil, you know nothing, was always on. This was probably ranks as number one. I've been told I don't know anything by many people for different reasons, but this one has ranked still stands as number one. This is when I tell the person, no, your daughter is fine. She doesn't have jinn. She just has anxiety. You don't know what you're doing. Go to Sheikh al-Fulani. He'll what can I do? I can't help. I can't. But subhanAllah, it's very interesting. I grew up in Syria, so you can't tell me about this. I know. My father's a very well-educated man, and my mother is too. I remember they brought some old lady who melted lead and poured it in the corners of the house. I remember this happening. I was 15. I remember thinking, this is absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. Who said this is? Where did this come from? But subhanAllah, it's a habit. People do it all the time. So he's not married. He's 28. There must be a sihr or a jinn or something involved into it. Has nothing to do with the way he dresses or how he carries himself. Nothing to do with his character at all. No, it's just the evil aunt who wrote the. Everything, anything. We will blame anything, but maybe what's staring us in the face. Okay, let's recite Surat Al-Jinn, and it's an absolutely lovely surah, and so hopefully you'll enjoy the content. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أوحي إلي أنه استمع نفر من الجن. So when we stop at the word jinn, you can see that on the noon there's a shadda, right? So the noon, when it has a shadda on it, this is the most powerful gunna that you have in the Quran. So you give it two counts. So even when you stop at it, you still give the 2 counts. So if you continued, you would say نَفَرٌ مِّنَ الْجِنِّ فَقَالُوا, right? If you stop at it, you still give it the 2 counts. نَفَرٌ مِّنَ الْجِنِّ مِنَ الْجِنِّ. The 2 counts are still there, even though we stopped. So you don't lose the 2 counts because you stopped at the letter. No, it still gets in. Any meme or noon that has a shadda on it when you stop, and you see, and this is probably the most, where you see it the most is in Surah Al-Rahman. It happens a lot. إِنسٌ قَبْلَهُمْ وَلَا جَان, right? And it's a 6, the word jan is a 6 count med. And then the noon has a shadda on it. So people will say, وَلَا جَان. No, it's وَلَا جَان. You get the two counts in. So when there's a shadda, you get the two counts in. And this is an example of it. I stopped just because I lost my breath. Now you would continue and say min al-jinni faqalu if you were to go on. But even if you stop at it, it gets the two counts of ghunna regardless. فقالوا إنا سمعنا قرآنا عجبا. This whole surah, I think all of it, I don't think there's any exceptions if I'm not yeah. So all of it will end with an alif. There'll be an alif at the end of it. So the way you stop at that is it has to kind of fade out. It has to fade out, a 2-count fade out. Right? It's a 2-count fade out. You don't stop it as if you are chopping wood. So you don't say, يعني عجبا. Ajaba is like you put a hamza at the end of it, and that's not how it's supposed to sound. It's ajaba. It just fades out, and it fades out with 2 counts. So every time we stop, when there's an alif, and this goes for all of any alif that you end your citation with or you stop at, you shouldn't stop as if you're cutting wood and it sounds like there's a hamza at the end of it. So it's not ajaba. No, it's ajaba. It just kind of fades out a little bit. And this takes a little bit of finesse, but it's just something I wanted to point out to you because I think it's important. يهدي إلى الرشد فآمنا به. ولن نشرك بربنا أحدا. وأنه تعالى جد ربنا ما اتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا وأنه كان يقول سفيهنا على الله شططا. Okay, so let's talk about these first 4. So qul, whenever the surah starts with qul, then you know that the Prophet ﷺ is being given a narrative. He's being given a narrative that he has to spread. And this is specific. This is specific. There are times in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls upon the people who are listening, just speaks directly to you. And sometimes He will tell the Prophet ﷺ to say something. What's the difference? The difference is when He's telling the Prophet ﷺ to say something, that means this is challenging a norm. It's challenging a status quo. So قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ. So those surahs, because what he's being taught here, what he's being told to tell us ﷺ, is challenging a status quo. Challenging something that people are resisting or pushing back on. Other verses where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not tell the Prophet ﷺ to tell it to us, He's usually stating general facts that the majority of people accept. Even though they may not practice, but the majority accept. Whenever He tells Him to say something to us ﷺ, then He knows subhanahu wa ta'ala, or He's telling us that this is something that you're going to push back on. This is something you're not going to like. This is something that most of you don't agree with. That's why He has to say it, and He has to continue to say alayhi salatu wasalam as a mission, as something that He's commanded to do, because He's trying to change, or He's trying to bring reform or change the way people think. So قُلْ, say this. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. أُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ, it has been revealed to me. أَنَّهُ اسْتَمَعَ نَفَرٌ مِّنَ الْجِنِّ, that a number of al-jinn. Nafar is a word in Arabic that goes from 1 to 10. Some scholars say from 1 to 12. Some say from, I don't know. You can go look up, if you're interested in this, you can go linguistically and look it up and see what every scholar said in terms of what nafar is. But nafar is a number of people. That is something that you can count. It's not a huge number. That's not just one person. Nafarun is a group. A small group. I think is the best way to explain it. A small group. أَنَّهُ اسْتَمَعَ نَفَرٌ مِّنَ الْجِنِّ, a small group of jinn listened. What did they listen to? They heard him alayhi salatu wasalam that night. The night on his way back from Al-Ta'if, alayhi salatu wasalam. When he was absolutely at his lowest point. That's how he describes it. He sees Al-Ta'if on the way back when he didn't know. He saw that to be the lowest of his moments in life, right? If you were to look at, there's the top of the mountain, there's the bottom of the hill. or the bottom of the valley. And the Prophet ﷺ's lowest moment in his mind, in his experience, how he felt, it was that night when he came back from Ta'if and he didn't know where to go. He didn't have a plan that day. I think that's why. In my opinion, this is how I understand it. That he didn't have a plan that day. He thrived on having plans. Like he came up with a plan and then he tried to execute, right? And if it didn't work out, or something came in, or new information was offered, or a curveball was thrown, then he would adjust his plan and they would go with that. But he always had an idea of where he was going, how he was going to address or approach the problems that he was dealing with, and what the next steps were going to look like. That night, he felt helpless for a bit. For a short period of time, he felt like he was lost. He didn't know where to go. Ahim. He used the word ahimu ala wajhi. I'm walking aimlessly. This is what it means. I'm walking aimlessly. I had no idea what to do. I was just kicked out of Ta'if. I can't go back to Mecca. I have Zayd with me, who is a minor that I had to take care of. My daughters are inside. Khadija just passed away, so his daughters were technically alone at home. Right? Abu Talib had passed away as well. So the supporters he had before, he was strong with, he lost them. So he didn't, alayhi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he just felt that way, right? And that night, they would camp out somewhere on the outskirts of Mecca in that valley, and he would spend the night, alayhi salatu wasalam, in salah. He would spend his night in qiyam. Zayd is sleeping and he is praying, alayhi salatu wasalam, all night long. And Al-Jinn, through the Tafseer of Allah, this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had this story occur, were first introduced to him alayhi salatu wasalam that day. So he alayhi salatu wasalam is a Rasul to the ins and the jinn. He's a prophet for both. The jinn don't have any more prophets after Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Did they have prophets before? Maybe. Most scholars tend to believe that they must have. Most scholars believe that they did. But there were prophets from the human beings that were also for jinn, like Sulaiman alayhi salam and Dawood. But we don't know, but most scholars believe that they probably did. But that Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam was the final prophet and messenger for all, for both human beings and the jinn. And they were told that this man is coming, and when he does, listen to what he has to say. So they were sent his way alayhi salatu wasalam that night. And they heard him standing in prayer. He has no idea that they are there. He doesn't know that they're there. He's just standing there speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they are observing him. They watched him go to the people in Ta'if. They watched Ahl Ta'if treat them in the way that they did. They watched him take care of Zayd ibn Haritha. They watched him put him to sleep and feed him. And then they watched him stand up in night in prayer. So they watched his character, alayhi salatu wasalam. And then they listened to what he had to say. They saw all that. So when they did, he had no idea. He had no idea. That's why قُلْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيْهِ. Say, it was been revealed to me. Because he wasn't a part of this. It was been revealed to him. He had no idea. أَنَّهُ اسْتَمَعَ نَفَرٌ مِّنَ الْجِنِّ. And a small group of jinn listened. فَقَالُوا إِنَّا سَمِعْنَا قُرْآنًا عَجَبًا. And they would say, indeed, we have heard a marvelous Qur'an. Qur'an is something that is recited. Words that can be recited, that come together well, that have a rhythm to them and have a certain organization. That's what the Qur'an is, like in Arabic, as an Arabic word. A Qur'an are things you can recite that come in paragraphs or in structures. We call them surahs. That's how we call them, right? They come in surahs. So it's a Qur'an, something that we recited that has a beginning and end, and it comes in structures. It's organized. So they said, indeed, we heard Qur'an and ajaba, something that was amazing. This is marvelous. Yahdi ila rushd. It guides to righteousness. The word rushd in Arabic is all that which is beneficial. That's what rushd and rashad is, or rashada, right? Everything that's everything that's good. So it's not just righteousness, which is you can see it that way, istiqama and haqq and whatnot. But rushd is just you're making. So wahdina min amrina rashada, right? Yeah. This is what the Ahl al-Kahf would make the dua. What does that mean? It means guide us to always make the correct decision, to make the decision that's best for us, in our best interest. Always guide me. Alhimni rushda min amri, right? وَأَلْهِمْنِي رُشْدِي. Meaning just always guide me so that I make the decision that is best for me, that will always benefit me. So يَهْدِي إِلَى الرُّشْدِ, it will guide you, it will always guide you, it will guide you always to that which is beneficial for you, which is helpful. It will never tell you to do something that's harmful. You will never go wrong. You can never go wrong by listening to what it has to say. فَآمَنَّا بِهِ, and we have believed in it. We have acknowledged that Quran and we have accepted it. وَلَن نُشْرِكَ بِرَبِّنَا أَحَدًا, and we will never associate with our Lord anyone else. We will never associate with our Lord anyone else again. وَأَنَّهُ تَعَالَى جَدُّ رَبِّنَا, and that, this is what the jinn are saying. They're saying, this is what we did. We heard a very marvelous Quran. It guides to that which is beneficial. We have accepted it. And we will never perform shirk again. We will never accept and associate with our Lord again. And that وَأَنَّهُ تَعَالَى جَدُّ رَبِّنَا, and that the status of our Lord is very high. Ta'ala is something is elevated, right? جَدُّ رَبِّنَا. Jadd here means the status. And the word jadd is obviously a dynamic word in Arabic. And the reason that you call your grandfather jadd is because he has status. Because by then he's a jadd, and he's someone who has great status. He is the father of the father. So he sits there and he puts his feet out and everyone comes and does whatever he wants because he's the jadd, right? That's how he's supposed to be treated. The Palestinian, what do they call their grandfathers? Sidi, they don't say jadd, they say Sidi, my master. This is the wording that they're, and you'll find similar wordings in the Arabic world when it comes to the grandfather. So the grandfather is called jadd because he's Abul Ab, the father of the father, because he has status. So the word jadd in its essence, in its origin, like in its root in Arabic, is status. وَأَنَّهُ تَعَالَى جَدُّ رَبِّنَا, and that indeed the status of our Lord is extremely high and elevated. مَتَّخَذَ صَاحِبَةً وَلَا وَلَدًا. He has not taken a wife or taken a child. وَأَنَّهُ, and this is also what we believe, also what we learned, and that كَانَ يَقُولُ سَفِيهُنَا عَلَى اللَّهِ شَطَطًا. The imbecile amongst us used to say very mistaken things about our Lord. Who are they talking about? Iblis. That's the whole point of me telling you this, the context at the beginning. The whole point of the context at the beginning was just so that you can understand this piece here. So they are people, they are jinn, who Iblis came back and began giving them a story. A story of how he was mistreated, of how he was cheated out of his rank, of how Adam came and stole what was rightfully theirs, of how Adam is not worthy of this love that Allah is showing him, and how Allah is. So he started giving a false narrative about God. He knows better, but that's what. How is he going to rally jinn with him? How is he going to get those who will do with him what he wants to do? To perform the waswasa and to work against Ibn Adam. See, not all jinn are enemies, right? These guys aren't. These guys in the story here, they're not our enemies at all. They are your brothers, your brethren. They are on the same page that you are. They are working towards the same goals you are working on. They are trying to achieve the same khair that you are trying to achieve in your life. It's just you don't see them. They see you from an angle that you do not see them from. So you just take Allah's word for it when He explains it. Now compare this with Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam's story in the surah before. He literally spent the whole surah telling us, and I spoke to them day and night, individually, in groups, publicly, secretly. I came to their homes, I came to their gatherings, I told them this, I told them that. They wouldn't listen. He did it by the book exactly how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted him to do it. Made no mistakes, he was not accountable for the fact that there were very few believers with him, alayhi salatu wasalam, Sayyidina Nuh. So someone who put his full effort and didn't get what? The Prophet ﷺ didn't even know he was doing it. The Prophet ﷺ didn't even know he was performing da'wah. He was just praying. He was just being Muslim. He was just being himself. He was just being himself with his character, with who he was as a person, ﷺ, and the jinn accepted. And the jinn will come Yawm al-Qiyamah in large numbers believing in him ﷺ because of this. He didn't do anything. And this is the two examples that we have of this. The two examples that we have in these two surahs, and that's just kind of how we're going to be able to understand these verses. That the outcomes when it comes to da'wah, which is people accepting Islam and coming closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you don't control that. إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. يُضِلُّ مَن يَشَاءُ وَيَهْدِي مَن يَشَاءُ وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. When it comes to guiding people and misguiding, but that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's, it is not yours. Your job is to represent this appropriately. Your job is to represent the essence of this message, the way it needs to be represented. To spread it and teach it and practice it the way it should be spread, taught, and practiced. And then what people do with it is up to them. It's never been up to you. You may end up with a situation or a scenario similar to Nuh alayhi salam, where you spend all of your life and you get very little, trying specifically. Or you may end up like the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. You said something, you don't even remember that you said it. Or you did something, you don't even remember that you did it. And someone, and people benefited, and you don't even know that they benefited. And you don't even know that story until Yawm al-Qiyamah when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals that to you. He didn't know. Alayhi salatu wasalam, had he not been, he had to say, قُلْ, say, it has been revealed to me. أُوحِيَ إِلَيْ, wahi. I received revelation for this topic. What was the revelation that he received, alayhi salatu wasalam? Oh, Muhammad, a bunch of jinn heard you that night. They listened to you, they watched you pray. And this is what happened. This group accepted Islam, they accepted their iman, they changed their ways, they said, وَأَنَّهُ كَانَ يَقُولُ سَفِيهٌ. Safih is the imbecile, or the idiot, or the person who's not capable of making coherent, incompetent is probably the best word. If you want a fiqhi, a safih, fiqhiyan, is the person who's not competent to make decisions. So they don't get to control all of their wealth. They can't make large financial deals. They can't because they're not competent. They're going to harm themselves. So the safaha in Islam is not actually like fiqhiyan from a jurisprudent perspective. It's not a curse word. It's actually a category within law. It's very interesting in Islam. You have this category within Islamic law of people who are sufaha, and these people have to be protected by the government. From whom? From themselves. They have to be protected from themselves. They don't have the ability to make the right choices to protect themselves. People have addictions, for example, for sure will fall into this. People have mental disabilities or their IQ is under a certain level. People, there'll be different categories of human beings who just they can't make good decisions. They want to, but they can't. And if you leave them, a safih will blow all of their money. And then what happens? And then they go and they start become needy, and then it just harms the whole society, because this person now is going to be a burden on society. If you protected him from himself, then he wouldn't be. So this is like a category in Islamic law of safaha. This is not what they're talking about though. The jinn aren't interested in that piece. They're just using the term linguistically without law. Safihuna, the imbecile amongst us. The guy who came and misguided most of us. The guy who came and lied to us all. Oh indeed, كَانَ يَقُولُ عَلَى اللَّهِ شَطَطًا. A shatat is when you go far off the road. That's why what is a shat? It's the beach. It's completely off the road, right? It's completely off the road. You're driving, you're not going to ever drive on a beach. You're always going to be driving on a road. So if you're on the shat, that means you have gone far off road here. So shatata means he took us completely off track. Completely off track. He was saying things that are completely off track about God. What is it that he was saying about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We don't know. We actually don't know. Shirk is definitely a piece of it, for sure. For sure he was teaching shirk. But what exactly he was teaching? What exactly, I don't know. There is shirk, there is a claim of having a family, a wife, a sahiba. There's a claim of having a child, which would be similar to what we have in our realm here. We have many religions that believe such nonsense. But he didn't say exactly what else it was that Iblis came and told his people, convincing them that they need to come and join him to right the wrong that was done to him and his race by Adam and Hawa. And how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala favored Adam and Hawa unjustly. Astaghfirullah wa atubu ilallah. But this is what he did. So this is the story. These guys, no, they have learned something. They have learned something different, right? Then it's a shift of narrative, right? All right, let's continue. It's very interesting. Like when you're listening, this is the only example you're going to get. This may be at the end, and maybe the end of Surat Al-Ahqaf, for a short version, where you get to hear the jinn talk. Right? Like this is where you get to hear jinn speak and actually articulate things. So it's worthwhile to listen to what they have to say because it's interesting. وَأَنَّا ظَنَنَّا أَن لَّن تَقُولَ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا. وَأَنَّهُ كَانَ رِجَالٌ مِّنَ الْإِنسِ يعوذون برجال من الجن فزادوهم رهقا وأنهم ظنوا كما ظننتم أن لن يبعث الله أحدا. All right. So the reason that at the beginning of each of these ayah is وَأَنَّهُ وَأَنَّ وَأَنَّهُ is because the jinn are saying, and that this, and that, and this, and we heard this, and we learned this, and this was the... So we're getting to listen to what the jinn, the Prophet ﷺ is told, tell people that it's been revealed to me that the jinn listened to the Quran, listened to me recite, and this is what they went and said. This is what they went, this was the narrative that they went and they spread. These are the conversations that they had amongst themselves. This is what they said amongst themselves. So the second piece here, وَأَنَّا ظَنَنَّا أَلَّن تَقُولَ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا. And that we thought that we never imagined that the human being and that jinn would lie on behalf of God and lie about him and say things that were untrue about him. So they are trying to explain why it was that they were on the wrong side at the beginning. Like why it was that they were misguided or misled initially. Now they are guided, obviously. They've made it very clear. They've stated very clearly that they have no shirk, that they don't believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a sahiba or a walad, that they believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's high status, that everything shaitan is saying is a lie, that he is completely off track. They've already stated that clearly. And now they're trying to say what it was that they believed before, like why they were in a different position. So the first thing is that we never thought, وَأَنَّا ظَنَنَّا, we thought, we assumed, that's what dhann is, أَلَّن تَقُولَ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا. That no one would dare lie on behalf of God. No one would dare come and do something like that. That's a huge thing, to lie in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is, as the Prophet ﷺ says in the hadith, that is mutawatir. Mutawatir means it has the same level of authenticity as the Quran does. It's something that came to us through thousands of مَنْ كَذَبَ عَلَيَّ مُتَعَمِّدًا فَلْيَتَبَوَّأْ مَقَعَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ. The person who lies on my tongue or through my tongue or tells a lie and refers to me, meaning he puts a lie on my tongue, فَلْيَتَبَوَّأْ مَقَعَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ. May he see with his own eyes in dunya his seat in Jahannam. May he know where he's going to sit Yawm al-Qiyamah in Jahannam from now, because he will not be forgiven for doing something like that. When you hear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Surah Al-A'raf talk about the 5 basic prohibitions, قُلْ إِنَّمَا حَرَّمَ رَبِّيَ الْفَوَاحِشَ مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا وَمَا بَطَنَ وَالْإِثْمَ وَالْبَغْيَ بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ وَأَن تُشْرِكُوا بِاللَّهِ مَا لَمْ يُنَزِّلْ بِهِ سُلْطَانًا وَأَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. So when he talks about, when he subhanahu wa ta'ala puts together all of the prohibitions, all of the haram, like in one verse, he says, okay, all that's haram is just the following: fawahish, sexual sins. Sins that are attached to inappropriate or improper or prohibited sexual expression of some sort. Al-fawahish. مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا وَمَا بَطَنَ. Whether it's people can see it or whether it's happening behind closed doors, makes no difference. Wal-ithm, sinful behavior. Wal-baghi, which is oppression, transgression, harming of other people. Shirk, وَأَن تُشْرِكُوا بِاللَّهِ. And then the 5th one, and these are categories. I did a khutbahs on these topics, so you can go back. أَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. To say in the name of Allah that which you have no knowledge of. For you to speak out of turn in the name of Allah. What I do here, this is the most dangerous thing in the world. This is the I only do it because I'm ignorant. Because I started young and I didn't know what I was doing. No one in their straight mind would sit down and do this. No one would. Absolutely no one would. Every shaykh I've ever had said this to me, I never listened. Like, no one does this. What are you doing? Don't, just stay on the sidelines. Do. But when you're a kid, you get, you're ambitious, you want to do stuff. And then I'm in the position saying exactly what they told me. Who sits and speaks in the name of Allah? One mistake. I say one thing that's not appropriate, with the wrong intention, or I misinterpret, or I misinform you in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How do I defend myself, Yawm al-Qiyamah? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me and forgive all of us. How do I defend myself, Yawm al-Qiyamah? What do I say? I'm sitting here, my job is to interpret for you what He is saying, subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He is the Lord, and I'm trying to explain to you what He said. If I misinterpret things, if I lie to you, or if I misguide you, if I try to shove my agenda somewhere in the middle of it, then how do I defend myself, Yawm al-Qiyamah? No one in their straight mind would do something like this. This is the most dangerous thing in the world, to sit here and speak in the name of Allah. In the name of Allah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. But subhanAllah, this is where He put me, and I ask Him to guide me, inshallah, allow me to say that which is beneficial, and He forgives me, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for that I was mistaken about. But this is what the jinn are saying. وَأَنَّ ظَنَنَا, and we assumed, لَن تَقُولَ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا. Ins and jinn would not dare lie in the name of Allah. No one would start a cult and lie to people. No one would make up things about religion and then tell people and misguide them and get them all rallied up and tell them, oh, if you do this, you go to Jannah. If you do this, you'll get whatever you want, and then have them kill and murder and slaughter, destroy and harm and burn and bomb. And no one would dare do that in the name of God. That's what the jinn are saying. They're saying, yeah, we didn't think that was possible. What do you get from this? They're good souls. They're pure souls, these jinn. They're pure. They didn't imagine that someone would do something like this. That a habr or a rahib or a alim would go and say something that was not really what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have wanted them to say. They would, yeah. This is the problem of our time, really. Many other problems obviously exist, but this is definitely one of them. Where for someone to sell their faith, their religion, to sell out God for a little bit of money, for some status, for more power, or for the rida, the acceptance of a politician, or whatever it is. What I do here is very tiring. There are ways to become popular, by the way. Like, it's not hard. It's not hard to become popular doing what I do. It's not at all. I know what people want to hear. I know exactly what they want to hear and what they don't want to hear. And all I have to do is just blow that horn for a while. And you get the followings, and you get the likes, and you get the people that, and you get the money, and you get the support, and you get the walking uphill all your life. It's tiring. But the fear is you sell out. You تَقُولُ عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا. You say something that, when you thought about it, is this what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala meant? And the answer was no, and then you go and say it anyways. Because, the sultan said it, or the wazir said it, or it was popular. You're scared for your job, or scared for whatever it was you were scared for. This is what these pure souls said. لن تقول الإنس والجن على الله كذبا. And the second piece, وأنه, and another reason that we were, كان رجال من الإنس يعوذون برجال من الجن. There were many men there are many individuals from the ins, from the human beings. يعوذون, they would seek refuge. برجال من الجن. They would seek refuge in us, in the jinn. They misled us. They made us think we were important. They made us think that we had power, because they kept on seeking refuge in us. There was all this, يَعُوذُونَ بِنَا. The human being will always, this is predating Islam obviously, the fear, the superstition the human being had in trying always to get the spirits on their side, one way or the other, right? Because there's different, jinn have had different names. We call them jinn. Other faiths and other cultures have different names for them, obviously. They kind of demons and spirits and elders and whatever. It depends on what mythology you're going to study or what group of people. They say, وَأَنَّهُ كَانَ رِجَالٌ مِنَ الْإِنسِ يَعُوذُونَ بِرِجَالٍ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فَزَادُوهُمْ رَهَقًا. And they would always make things worse for them. Al-rahaq is, irhaq in Arabic, irhaq is when you're tired, when you fatigue. Al-rahaq is when you have fatigue and humility, meaning humiliation, like you're in a bad position. What you did made things worse. فَزَادُوهُمْ رَهَقًا, they increased them in their fatigue and in their loss, meaning they just made things worse for them. But that was happening a lot. The human being was always seeking refuge in the jinn, asking jinn for help, looking to jinn for answers. The human beings always looked for, we always went to the metaphysics, looking for answers. We always tried to. It's more interesting, honestly. It's scary. Scary. I can spook. You'll get spooked. You'll see. Sometimes I ask people, if you're put in a position where you're spooked and someone spooks you, oh, this place has jinn, and you're like, I don't want to be. What? You're not going to go in? No, I'm not going to go. Why not? Well, they said, but if you don't believe this stuff, then why don't you go in? I know, but why run the risk? Why run the risk? What do you mean run the risk? Either you have a clear belief system or you don't. Either you know what you're doing or you don't. But we have been, so much superstition has been embedded in our culture that we're scared. We can be scared easily. And we can seek refuge in the wrong. That's why يَعُوذُونَ al-isti'ādah or ta'awudh is an important Islamic topic that I'm going to talk about, inshallah. Maybe not today because it's a big one. Something I'm going to share with you, inshallah, in the future soon. It's a very powerful Islamic concept. That's why قُلْ أَعُوذُ. You start the recitation for salah, أَعُوذُ, right? It's an important thing. It's an action. It's seeking refuge. What does that mean, like to seek refuge? We all have, there's a natural fear that we carry with us wherever we go. There's a natural fear that human beings carry with them because the future is unknown to us. You can't see the future. You can only see right now. You try to plan for it. You try to figure out what's going to happen next. You try to at least get a sense of what the plan should be and what you're doing. But at the end, the future is unknown to you. So that unknown is scary. Anything that's unknown is scary. It's just it's what fear is. Fear is not knowing what's going to come. If you knew what was going to happen, exactly what was going to happen, you wouldn't be scared of it. You'd fully embrace it. If you know exactly how things are going to go for the next couple of years and when you're going to die and how you're going to die, you wouldn't have a problem with any of it. You wouldn't, this is what it is, you're fine. Yeah, it's not a problem anymore. But it's that unknowing, it's that lack of knowledge, it's that the ignorance of what's coming is very difficult. So people, when they're scared, they seek refuge in something. They want safety, they want comfort. They seek comfort in something. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, don't seek comfort in anyone but me. Do not seek that safety and that refuge and that comfort in anyone, from anything. Don't do it except when you do it towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what He taught us. But the human being wasn't like that. That's why He said, وَأَنَّهُ كَانَ رِجَالٌ مِنَ الْإِنسِ يَعُوذُونَ. This is what we watched. We watched this important action occur between the ins and the jinn, which gave us a feeling that, oh, maybe he's right. Maybe shaitan is right. These guys they have no idea what they're doing. They're ignorant. They're seeking refuge in us. We're weaker than them. What are they doing? It only makes it worse for them every time. فَزَادُوهُمْ رَهَقًا. It only gets worse every time they do it. So meaning this is strengthening the narrative of shaitan, right? So why did they listen to him initially? Well, first, they didn't think anyone would dare lie in the name of God. Number two, well, the human being seemed like it was a bit ignorant. He kept on seeking refuge in us. And every time they did it, made it worse for them, but they still kept on doing it. So it seemed like to strengthen his narrative that these guys shouldn't be respected. They should not have the status that God has given them. They should not be seen in the elevated ranks that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has offered them. And then the third one, وَأَنَّهُمْ ظَنُّوا كَمَا ظَنَنْتُمْ أَن لَّن يَبْعَثَ اللَّهُ أَحَدًا. And that they believed, or they assumed, as you do, as we do, as human beings do, most of us, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not resurrect anybody. Al-Ba'ath here, scholars, so if you go to the books, if you go to Tafseer ibn Ashur or Al-Qurtubi, they talk about the different opinions on it. And one of the opinions is sending a messenger. Al-Ba'ath as in sending a messenger. I don't think that's that's not the opinion that I think is strong. I think the stronger opinion is Ba'ath here as in resurrection. Because that's always been the problem of humanity, is whether we're going to come back again. Because we're all going to die. We all know that piece. That piece has been established before. Will we be resurrected? And will we be held accountable? So Ba'ath is a word that kind of encompasses resurrection and accountability and then punishment or reward, like the whole kind of Shaban, the whole story. وَأَنَّهُمْ ظَنُّوا كَمَا ظَنَنْتُمْ, that most people thought, just like you did, أَلَّنْ يَبْعَثَ اللَّهُ أَحَدًا, that Allah would never resurrect anyone. It's just now, just this life that we live in, we're done. So that's why they thought what they thought before they heard the Quran. Is that making sense so far? This is how they're explaining. They're saying, here's what we heard, this is what we've done since we've heard, this is how we see Shaitan and his narrative. This is why we believed it to begin with. These are the points. Now they're going to talk about some changes to their experiences. Right? So I have to read this for you before the end of before Isha, so I can rant about it now and then rant about it at the beginning of the halaqah next week, and that way I get 2 rants, for one topic, and that will make me happy, inshallah. So we'll do that. وَأَنَّا لَمَسْنَا السَّمَاءَ فَوَجَدْنَاهَا مُلِئَتْ حَرَسًا شَدِيدًا وَشُهُبًا. وَأَنَّا كُنَّا نَقْعُدُ مِنْهَا مَقَاعِدَ لِلسَّمْعِ. So when you have 2 letters that are sakin beside each other, and neither of them have a qalqala, so you have to be there's a bit of finesse in getting لِلسَّمْعِ. So it's not لِلسَّمِع, so you don't give like the meme like a little nudge to make it easier. No, you have to keep the meme sakin and the ayn. لِلسَّمْع. So you have to put that. And now the advice is just keep on going. It's easier then. لِلسَّمْعِ, because now the ayn has a kasra, so the whole difficulty is gone. But if you stop, you have to make sure that the meme and the ayn stay sakin, and they don't get a small jump. فَمَن يَسْتَمِعِ الْآنَ يَجِدْ لَهُ شِهَابًا رَصَدًا. وَأَنَّا لَا نَدْرِي أَشَرٌّ أُرِيدَ بِمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ أَمْ أَرَادَ بِهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ رَشَدًا. This is what they're saying. وَأَنَّا لَمَسْنَا السَّمَاءَ. And this is what they're pointing out that happened since the bi'tha, since the prophecy of the Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Since he became a prophet, that وَأَنَّا لَمَسْنَا السَّمَاءَ, and then we went and we touched the sky. So again, we don't understand exactly how they exist. And there are narrations in hadith that lack authenticity and lack clarity, that describe things about jinn. You're better off not getting involved in them, because they're just the scholars have for centuries debated, and most scholars just leave them alone, because there's a lot of kind of controversy around the authenticity of these narrations and the correctness of the substance of these narrations. But we know that shayateen, because obviously, or jinn in general, because jinn exist differently than us, that they're capable of. So they see the malaika, we don't. So they're in whatever realm that they're in, they're able to see malaika, they're able to be close, which is why Iblis was able to be with the malaika. So there's a different relationship between jinn and the malaika of God, and it's different. For us, we have a different relationship. So they're saying, وَأَنَّا لَمَسْنَا السَّمَاءَ, and when we touched the sky, فَوَجَدْنَاهَا مُلِئَتْ حَرَسًا شَدِيدًا وَشُهُبًا. We found the sky to be full, it was filled. Muli'at means there was an action of filling that happened. That didn't happen before. He used here a verb to say that it wasn't like that before. Suddenly it became full. It was filled with haras shadid. Al-haras are guards. Shadid, they're stern, firm guards. Washuhuba, and falling stars. Shihab is a falling star, or whatever objects in the universe, in the cosmos that you can refer to. Comets or what have you. So he's saying that we would often go to the sky, but this time we went, we found it completely full. It was packed. It was stern guards. It was flying comets. We had وَأَنَّا كُنَّا نَقْعُدُ. وَأَنَّا كُنَّا نَقْعُدُ. And that we used to. We used to. نَقْعُدُ مِنْهَا مَقَاعِدُ. We used to sit in seats, لِلسَّمْعِ, to hear, to listen. وَأَنَّا كُنَّا نَقْعُدْ, and we used to, in the past, not in the present, in the past, used to have seats where we sit, لِلسَّمْعِ, to listen. فَمَنْ يَسْتَمِعِ الْآنِ, whoever dares to try and sit and listen now, يَجِدْ لَهُ شِهَابًا رَصَدًا, he will find a comet that is waiting for him, that will burn him immediately. Al-rasad is when something is denying you from in front of you. Right? It's like you're going in a direction and there's a guard. There's something in front of you, there's a door, there's a wall. They're pushing back, they're not allowing you through. They're not going to let you through. They're going to take you down if you try to cross the line of some sort. So they said, we used to sit, we used to be able to sit in certain seats. Maqa'id are seats. نَقْعُدُ مِنْهَا مَقَاعِد. Within the sky we could sit in certain seats, certain places, where we could listen to what the malaika are talking about or what's happening. فَمَنْ يَسْتَمِعِ الْآنِ, anyone who tries to sit and listen now, يَجِدْ لَهُ شِهَابًا رَصَدًا, you will find waiting for him when he gets there, a burning comet that will take him out. وَأَنَّا لَا نَدْرِي, and that we do not know, we have no knowledge. أَشَرٌ أُرِيدَ بِمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ, is it evil that is intended for the people of earth, بِمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ, who was on earth? أَمْ أَرَادَ بِهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ رَشَدًا, or their Lord wants rashad for them, wants the best for them. They're saying, we don't know, we have no knowledge of the future. We don't know anything. We have no idea. We have no idea if evil's intended for people or if their Lord wants the best for them. We don't know. There, khalas. We're done. We don't need to have these conversations anymore. All right? Seal the deal, we're finished. They don't know anything. They can't hear anything. They can't bring you any information. They have no idea what they're doing. Khalas, you don't have to keep on, this is what Allah says here. This is them speaking. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling the Prophet alayhi wasallam to read the Quran. The word of God being said qul for the Prophet alayhi wasallam to say it. So it's the word of God being commanded to the Prophet alayhi wasallam to tell us, and we're hearing it from the jinn themselves. We're hearing jinn say, we used to be able to sit and listen. Now we can't do that anymore. We are burnt immediately, and we have literally no idea. وَأَنَّا لَا نَدْرِي, we don't know. أَشَرٌ أُرِيدَ بِمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ, is it evil that's intended to the people? Meaning, what's the end game for everyone here? How is it going to end for me and you and everyone else? Is it evil? Is it going to be pain and agony and suffering and horribleness? Or does our Lord want the rashada for us, wants the best for us? Is everything here going in the right direction for all of us? They don't know. They're saying very clearly they have no idea. But what is the الحاجة fulan, والشيخ الفلاني, and the old guy who lived in they know more. They know. They can tell you if you go and you pull a couple of hairs from the behind of a goat and you add to it you boil it within the urine of a goose and you drink it in the morning and the evening, then somehow whatever or maybe they just have a mental illness. Maybe they're just sick and they need a professional, like a healthcare professional to sit with them, to talk to them. Maybe they went through trauma. Maybe they were abused. Maybe they were molested. Maybe they just have an imbalance within their lives that no one has cared for. Maybe they were just ignored for a long time. Maybe they just never felt loved. Could it be any of those? No, it's probably like that guy who sits with all the bakhur and he probably knows what he's doing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ended the discussion. وَأَنَّا كُنَّا, we used to be able to sit. If you sit now, فَمَنْ يَسْتَمِعِ الْآنِ, the word الْآن, it doesn't really, it's not a common word in the Quran. Like it's not now, right now, right? Al-an, right? It's not a common. You find it in the Quran a few times, but it's a very specific word because it's pointing out within a time tense to be right now. So say, فَمَنْ يَسْتَمِعِ الْآنِ, as of now, if anyone tries to sit and listen, شِهَابًا رَصَدًا, a burning comet is waiting for him, and we do not know. To add, because if that wasn't enough, وَأَنَّا لَا نَدْرِي, and we don't know. We have no idea what's happening. We don't have information of the future. We can't offer you anything. And I think that's okay. So I'll continue this lovely. It's a beautiful surah, wallah. Like aside from the point that I'm trying to drill in here, The surah is absolutely beautiful. You're getting to hear the experience of different creatures listening to the Quran and accepting Islam and accepting the message of Muhammad alayhi salatu. It's beautiful. It's absolutely fabulous. So inshallah, you go home today and read the rest of it and kind of contemplate it yourself. You'll find something in it for you. We'll end with that inshallah. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka wa 'azzama ala nabiyyina wa habibina wa qurrati a'yun.